Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Briggs. I'm teaching you a lesson today on Moving Straight Ahead 3.4. In your assignment notebook, you're going to need the following stuff. We're doing Moving Straight Ahead 3.4, and the goal for this is that I can solve equations with negative numbers. And the super special picture for today is a recent finding today found that Ganymede, one of the moons of Jupiter, actually has about 10-mile thick oceans all around it, which is really fascinating stuff. There's this giant 2-mile thick ice all around the planet, and underneath that is a whole lot of water. There might be more water on Ganymede than on all of Earth. And if you look at Jupiter up in the sky with a pair of binoculars, you'll actually see a bright dot with 4 little dots behind it. And every day they move. Sometimes they'll be all in a row one side, they'll be all in a row on another side, sometimes they're half and half. And what that is that's Ganymede and Io and Callisto and Europa, the moons of Jupiter, going around it. So even with a good pair of binoculars, you can see that. Give it a shot sometime. But today we're going to get started on our math. So ladies and gentlemen, here's our warm-up. And our warm-up looks something like this. We're going to make an equation here for this situation. The equation is this. Bob buys popsicles for $20. Okay, he bought a package of popsicles. He's going to resell them then for $2 each. And we want to know how long until he makes $50. But first, let's make that equation. So if he's buying popsicles, the amount of money he makes is Y, right? What is his rate? How far up is he going? He's going up 2 times x because he's selling them for $2 a piece, right? Every popsicle he sells, he goes up by 2. But where's he starting at? Well, he started with 20, but did he start owing $20 or did he start having $20? Well, he had to buy those popsicles, so it's actually minus 20, right? He owed $20 off the bat and now has to pay them back, right? So how long until he makes $50? Well, what we do is really simple. We take that number for Y and replace it with 50. And we just copy down the rest of the equation. 2x minus 20. Okay, well, how many popsicles he's going to have to sell? Well, first thing I got to do is I've got to get rid of that negative 20 and get that out of there. How do I get rid of a negative 20? By adding 20. So I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And that's sort of showing that before I can start making $50, I have to pay back $20. So really, I have to sell $70 worth of popsicles, right? Because I have to make my $50 and I got to pay a guy back for 20. And they cost $2 each, so 2x. And now to figure out how many I'm going to have to sell, I just divide both sides by 2. And this cancels out and gives me with 1x, right? That might be in the wrong spot. I get 1x equals 70 divided by 2 is 35. So he'll have to sell 35 popsicles at $2 a pop before he pays back that $20 and makes his 50. And this leads right into kind of our work today, where we have these problems, okay, such as problem number A. Problem number A is pretty easy to solve. Now, as I'm going through these problems, if you get them, go ahead and work ahead. But do not talk to your neighbor or bug your neighbor. Do not distract anybody. Your job right now is to either follow along with what's on the board or work ahead. Either way, if you could check in every so often to see if you got the right answer, that would be great. So A1 right here, we have 5x plus 10 gives me 20. My first step is going to be subtracting 10 from both sides, because I want to get rid of that positive 10. So that cancels out. And I bring down 5x. And then I do 20 take away 10. And 20 take away 10 is 10. So my new equation is 5x equals 10. But I want to know what 1x is worth, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. This cancels out, and what I'm left with is x equals, what is 10 divided by 5? 10 divided by 5 is 2. X equals 2 is my answer for number 1. Okay. But 2 is a little trickier. With number 2, I have 5x minus 10 equals 20. To get rid of that minus 10, I'm going to have to add 10 to both sides. And when I add 10 to both sides, this cancels out. I draw a line to keep it neat, and I have 5x equals 20 plus 10 is 30. A very different answer from what we had before. And we divide both sides by 5. This cancels out, and I'm left with x equals 30 divided by 5 is 6. So for number 2, A2, x equals 6. Remember that showing your work is actually more important than even getting your answer. I'm going to be looking for the work you show, not for the answer when we correct this. Okay, number 3, 5x plus 10 equals negative 20. Now this gets a little squirrelier still. To get rid of that positive 10, I'm going to subtract 10 from each side. When I subtract 10 from each side, this cancels out. I bring down that 5x. And it equals what? You might ask yourself, well, Mr. Briggs, I got negative 20 and I got negative 10. What happens when I combine those two? What happens when I get negative 20 and negative 10? I get negative 30. Okay? Yes, these can actually equal negative numbers. And then, I still want to know what 1x is, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1x, and it equals negative 30 divided by positive 5 gives me 6, and because it's a negative divided by a positive, it becomes a negative 6. X equals negative 6. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Okay, A4. We have 5x equals 20. 5x minus 10 equals negative 20. Well, I'm going to add 10 to get rid of that negative 20. And I have to add 10 to the other side too. This side cancels out. And I get 5x equals negative 20 plus 10 though. What happens? If I have negative 20 and I go up 10, I'm going to have negative 10. Because it was like negative 20 degrees out and it got 10 degrees warmer. I still have to divide though, and I divide by what's in front of x. So I have 5x divided by 5, and negative 10 divided by 5. And my answer becomes x equals, well, negative 10 divided by positive 5 is going to give me negative 2. Hopefully you've been following along. Hopefully you've been doing your job. Hopefully you're starting to get this. It's starting to make sense to you. All right, let's do the next one. For B, we have 10 minus 5x equals 20. Well, let's see here. I want to get rid of that 10 first. Now, is that a 10 positive or is that 10 negative? That 10's positive, so I have to subtract 10 from both sides. Draw a line to keep it neat. That cancels out. But here I had the minus 5x. What happens to that minus? We have to bring that guy down. So I get negative 5x equals, well, what's 20 take away 10? Still positive 10. So now I need to divide. But what am I going to divide by? Do I divide by 5 or negative 5? I want to divide it by negative 5. And here's why. If I take negative 5 divided by negative 5, I get positive 1x, right? Because a negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. But I also have to divide the other side by negative 5. 10 divided by negative 5, because it's a positive divided by negative. It gives me negative 2. X equals negative 2. Okay? See how showing our work here, see how kind of keeping track of all of our steps really helps us understand the answer? I do. All right. On to, let's see, B2. For B2, we have 10 minus 5x equals negative 20. Okay. I subtract 10 from both sides. Draw a line to keep it neat, because I want to get rid of that positive 10. And I do. I bring down the negative 5x, and it equals, well, what's negative 20 and negative 10? I get negative 30. Okay? And now I got to divide by, well, what's in front of the x there? Negative 5. So I divide both sides by negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 gives me positive 1x. And negative 30 divided by negative 5, what's a negative divided by a negative? Positive 6. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing really good. Okay, on to C. Now C is 4x plus 9 equals 7x. In this case, we want to get rid of an x, right? So we're going to subtract 4x from each side. When I subtract 4x from each side, I get 9 equals, what's 7 take away 4? 3x. And now, I just divide both sides by what? Well, what's in front of the x? 3. 3 divided by 3 gives me x. And 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. And I get x equals 3. Okay. On C2. C2 is a two-stepper. Okay? C2 is a two-stepper. First, let's get rid of that positive 3. We could get rid of the 4x too, but let's get rid of the positive 3 first. So I subtract 3 from both sides. 3 take away 3 cancels out, and 9 take away 3 gives me 6. But I got to bring down the rest of it. I have 4x plus 6 equals 7x. The next step after that would be to get rid of that 4x. So I'm going to subtract 4x from each side. And when I subtract 4x from each side, this one's going to cancel out, and I get 6 equals, well, what's 7 take away 4? 3. But it's 3x. And I bet you know what comes next. Divide everything by 3. And I get x equals 2. Because 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay? A little bit harder than the last one, but the same principle. You just have to think it through. Now for C3. Now C3, we subtract 4x from each side again, because we want to get the x and the whole number by themselves. This cancels out, and we're left with what? Well, we got to bring down that minus 9. It becomes negative 9 now. And 7 take away 4 gives me 3x. And this time I'm going to divide everything by 3. Negative 9 divided by positive 3 gives me negative 3. And 3 divided by 3 gives me x. So I get negative 3 equals x, or x equals negative 3, however you want to look at it. Once again, we're going to want to show all of our work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and this next one here, number 4 here, requires a little bit of like algebra kung fu. Okay, we need to understand some things first. And there's a couple different ways we can attack this, but we want to attack it directly and effectively and put this guy down as quickly as possible. Put him in the ground. So here's what we're going to do. We have 4x minus 9, so we got a negative 9 hanging out there, equals negative 7x, a negative 7, plus 13. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my numbers. Okay, so that 9 is a negative 9, and that 13 is positive. Do I want to subtract 13 or add 9? Which would be easier? Okay, I could do either one. Both are going to get you the same answer. It just might take you a few extra steps. But what I'm going to do is get rid of that -9 first by adding 9 to both sides. Draw a line to keep it neat. Okay, that cancels out. And what we get is 4x equals -7x plus, what's 13 plus 9? Oh man, I got to take my shoes off to count this one. Oh, it's 22. Okay, so I get 22. Now, what do I got to do next? Well, I got the -7x. Now, what do I want to do to get rid of him? I want to add 7x to both sides. And once I add 7x to both sides, boom, boom, I get 4 plus 7 gives me 11x equals 22. Then I just divide both sides by 11. And x equals, you guessed it, 2. Easy peasy. All right, let's talk about D. All right, D is crazy. It's just insane. We have 3 times x plus 2 equals 21. Okay, we need to rewrite this first. Okay, so what I'm going to do to rewrite it is I'm going to do 3 times x. 3 times x gives me 3x. And then I'm going to do 3 times 2. Positive 2. 3 times positive 2 gives me positive 6. Equals 21. All right, now I can solve this guy. What do I do first? Well, I get rid of that 6, so I take 6 away from both sides. And I end up getting 3x equals 15. Now, what do I divide by? Make a line under each one. I'm going to divide them by 3. And I get x equals 5. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Next one. We have -3. Oh my gosh, -3 times x minus 5 equals 2x. Well, let's do that -3 times x first. -3 times x gives me -3x. Then, -3 times -5. Keep in mind that's sort of a -5 right there. Becomes a positive 15. And I equals 2x. Well, what do I want to do now? Do I want to get rid of that 2x or do I want to get rid of that -3? It makes more sense to get rid of the -3. And I'm going to get rid of the -3 by adding 3x to both sides. This cancels out, and I get 15 equals 5x. And we divide everything by 5, and I get 3 equals x, or x equals 3, whichever one you want. All right, now for the last one. At least I think it's the last one. Yeah, it's the last one. Number 3, we have 5 times x plus 2, okay, equals 6x plus 3. Well, let's distribute this puppy first. 5 times x gives me 5x. 5 times positive 2 gives me 10. Equals 6x plus 3. Let me neaten this up a bit. There's my x. Okay. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to do what? Let's get rid of 5x on each side. Get rid of 5x here. Get rid of 5x here. And I get 10 equals 6 minus 5 is 1x, or just x, plus 3. How do I get rid of that plus 3? Subtract 3. Draw a line to keep it neat. And I get 7 equals x, or x equals 7. Whatever. All right. Let me do a quick explanation of the homework, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, for this quick explanation of the homework, the first part, we have 2 students here. And they did this equation, 58.5 equals 3.5x minus 6. And they went through all of the steps. You need to tell me where they went wrong. And then you need to solve it yourself. Okay? You need to solve it yourself using the steps you've learned. So it's a two-part problem. Part 1 is telling me what's wrong. Part 2 is solving it. All right. The next one. We have this part here that involves the equation 4 minus 3x. Y equals 4 minus 3x. And what they want you to do is replace something in it. So what if x is 4? Well, if x is 4, I would have 4 minus 3 times 4 instead of 3 times x. So I just do that problem. I'm going to have 4 minus, what's 3 times 4? 12. And 4 minus 12 gives me negative 8. So negative 8 is my answer. Okay? Another way to look about it is if I have this problem here, what if y is negative 3? Okay, I'm going to have negative 3 right there. Okay? So here I've got what is 4 minus negative 3. But I'll have to do 3 times negative 3. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So I have 4 minus negative 9. But as you know, subtracting a negative makes that whole thing positive. So really, I'm doing 4 plus 9. So y would equal 13. Okay? And for C, what if x is 2? Well, 4 minus 3 times 2. 3 times 2 becomes 6. So my new equation is 4 minus 6. You get the picture. For this other one, though, we switch it around. Find x when y is 0. And this makes a little bit more sense. All we have to do is rewrite these problems. So I have 0 equals 4 minus 3x. I have 21 equals 4 minus 3x. I have negative 15 equals 4 minus 3x. And for this one here, I'd want to put in 3.5 equals negative 4 minus 3x. All you do is solve for x for each of these. So x is going to equal something for each one. Okay? That's as hard as this side is going to get. And then the other side, of course, is just a bunch of review problems, and you should be good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all of the hard work paying attention and following along. If you still don't quite get this, now would be the time to sort of find Mr. Briggs and ask for some help. Okay? Have fun.